Welcome to the Humanize EDU podcast. I'm Sandi Herrera. My sister, Dr. Stacy Herrera, and I are on a mission to bring the human back to the center of education.
Through our authentic, human-centered conversations, we hope to inspire you to take ownership of your life, mental well-being, and culture transformation journey.
Our conversations range from the wild and windy roads our guests have navigated throughout their careers, to the inspiring stories of overcoming the myriad of challenges within education today.
We hope you'll join us every month as we bring on exceptional guests who are creating a ripple of impact within the world of education, making a difference in the lives of students and staff every day. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
We're very excited for this particular podcast. It's a very special one because I will be interviewing Sandi.
So it's special through Stacy's eyes.
It's special to the audience. I think people enjoy getting to know you.
Got it.
I think you, when you meet people, have this presence that people are naturally drawn to you. It's awesome to watch.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Sometimes it's a little intimidating.
Wow. That's what happens.
Right.
So I'm going to start off
Okay.
with a question.
Serious question?
Well, I just want you to go back into the recesses of your mind.
Okay.
And retrieve the
Be prepared. This might be weird.
the earliest memory of being at school.
I think it'd have to be kindergarten. I'd like to think it was preschool. I think I went to preschool, but I don't remember where and what that was like. But in kindergarten, just remembering the play space.
Mm-hmm.
Like I kind of remember my teacher, Mr. McCarthy. Kind of remember some friends, but I just more remember the environment where we could like go and play not Barbies, like dolls and house, and they had kitchen stuff, and then there was a place for numbers and a place for letters, and then outside on the tricycles, and we'd ride around on these tracks, and I just remember it being very play-centered for kindergarten.
It was a fantastic elementary school. Do you remember the design of it?
Yeah, it's round, and it's much smaller now than I remember. It was it was really big then.
It shrank.
Or we grew.
Mm-hmm. But you could never get lost.
No, never. It's the whole multi-purpose room in the center. I think it was a brilliant design. Then as a child, some of the schools that I go into now, I'm like, I'll have to text an administrator if they're like, yeah, we'll see you later, and I start walking myself out, and I'm like, I don't know where I am.
You need the little footsteps.
Even at an elementary school I was in a couple weeks ago, I ended up going in and text the principal when I was there, and she's like, okay, see you in the multi-purpose room. And then I ended up coming around the back side, and so she's like, what took you so long to get here? Like, I go, I don't know, I got lost. I don't know how I did it.
So we need the circular.
I need a circle school. That's how I was trained to not get lost. Give me a circle.
What about your favorite teacher?
Miss Brown always comes to mind from 4th grade. And I've had several incredible teachers and educators in my life, but she comes to mind as probably the earliest one. Mm-hmm. And I remember we had this vocabulary assignment, okay. And it was to come up with a drawing, and my word was barricade. And so me not being an artist at all and not being able to draw very well, in my opinion, I'm sure it's very abstract and sold for lots at some point. My stick figures of barricade she acknowledged it. She saw me. She was like, really good job. It was about the effort that I put in and the time that I took. It wasn't about whether my stick figures were even or anything. And so I just really felt valued in her classroom. It really just felt like she saw me. There was no judgment. It was nurturing. It was uplifting. It was encouraging. It was like, you've got this. You can do this. I just remembered that about her in everything about the way that she showed up in the classroom.
That's fantastic. It really is about the container that teachers create.
So much so.
And then
you went off to college.
Not right after fourth grade, but yes.
After graduating from high school.
After graduating from fourth grade, I went on to college.
Why did you go to college?
Because I had to. Because we were told that that's what you do. It was, I don't remember it ever being an option. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even, like I remember friends going off into the military or you know, going into trades or getting a job or working with their families or whatever else they chose. I just don't know. I mean, the seeds were planted, I think, so young for us that there was never another option. Military was kind of an option, but it was assumed. Like, that's just what...
This is the next step.
This is what you do. You graduate high school, you graduate college, you get married, you have 2.5 children, you have a white picket fence, you know, live happily ever after. Right? It was the whole Cinderella story. Right. My life didn't turn out that way. But, you know, I went off to college and just grateful to our dad, right? I mean, I know that mom nurtured it as well, but I remember it being so emphatically stern from him about, no, you will go to college.
Why do you think that is?
I think because he didn't. And us being first generation college grads, I think it was important to him because he saw instances in his professional pathway that would have accelerated his career path. And talking to him now, it's interesting. I've actually asked that question in a different way, but it came about, and you know, his career within the fire department, he promoted throughout and ended up retiring as chief deputy, and so he did well, and he still has that thought of, I could have done different had I gone to college. And I think because he saw so many windows of opportunity that were available to friends and colleagues of his that did have their degree, that for us it was like non-negotiable. You're gonna have that.
Yeah, definitely. What led you to choosing the major that you did in college?
So I started out pre-med because I wanted to help people, right? And we didn't have the perspective. Growing up in a small town in the 80s, there wasn't the internet. I didn't have a global perspective. I didn't have a view of the world that really gave me any other options in my mind other than like doctor, lawyer. Mom was in real estate agent, and just what are traditional career paths. And so it's like, oh, doctor, like they're well revered, they're well respected, like, you know, that's good. I can help people, and you know, I enjoy helping people. And so chose pre-med and got into college, and very quickly realized I didn't know how to study. And so had a professor, my biology professor, and I forget her name, I wish I could remember. She actually sat down with me and invited me into her office after hours. She's like, bring note cards, bring highlighters, I'm going to actually teach you how to study. And she was so patient with me. And, you know, I did well in school, well enough. And I didn't do well as I wish I would have. But I don't think school is really designed for how my brain's wired, you know, and what I know now. But choosing pre-med, getting into beginning of second year, I was like, no more is going to fit. I remember being at a study session with this group of older students and, you know, same year students, and looking around the room and going, how do you guys do this? Like, what? Like, I have no more space in here. I don't know how this is working for you all. And they're like, I don't know, you keep going, and I just felt exhausted by it. I felt like I was becoming was a germaphobe, learning about all the microorganisms of the
more you read,
it's like, scary. Don't touch anything.
Yes.
And I'm grateful for starting out that way, because it really forced me into what it was like to be in college. And then I was like, well, I'm good with numbers, you know, I tested out of math, so I didn't have to take a math class in college. I was like, well, maybe I'll take some math, which was not, it was fine, but I found myself in an accounting degree, and then I was helping community members when we would do their taxes in the evenings, and, you know, I did all of these things that were all centered around helping others, And then realized I didn't want to be an accountant. When I looked at what that looked like as a career path, I was like, that's not, I don't want to sit in an office. That's not going to be me. And so then went on to meeting with my counselor at CalU, and was like, what can I do? I want to graduate in 4 years, but I don't have no direction. What's possible with all these credits I have? And so it was easy at that point, credit-wise, to get a business degree. And so it was like, well, what other classes can I fill my schedule with to make sure that I have enough to graduate? And ended up with a dual emphasis in management and marketing, because those were the classes that came easy to me. And at that point, I think it was midway through my junior year, I was like, how do I just be really, like, actually be done in a year and a half? And how can I do this in a way that's easy? Because I was also working full time. So it, it was just check the box, just be done. And then my first job was, there were career fairs, and that's how you found jobs. There wasn't any other way to find jobs. It was who you knew and career fairs.
Right.
And all of the career fairs were of sales jobs. Working for DuPont and Sherwin-Williams. I was like, Sherwin-Williams has sales? Like, that's paint. Like, what do you, like, maybe you don't understand. Yeah. How do you do this? And so we, all of the jobs that were available, there was one that was as a recruiter. I was like, I can do that. I can help people with that. Like, that makes sense. I can help people find jobs. And so ended up getting hired and going to work for Aerotech, and then within a year I was in sales. So there was that. It's like, that's not what I wanted to do.
So what led you to returning to the educational environment?
Really the mummy fire in me that came from having my son, having Hunter, and going through 2.5 years of infertility to actually have him come into this world. And then he was born on my birthday. And so we have this just amazing bond. And so when it came time to be looking at schools for him and all of that, I was like, well, I need to go back to work in order to be able to afford where I want us to live, to be zoned for the school that I would like for him to go to. And so I got into real estate. And during, and because real estate was a thing that I could do and make money, but still stay home with him. Because I was only able to stay home with him for about a year. And then it was like, okay, our family needs the revenue from where I needed to go back to work. And so I, when it came time to put him in kindergarten, we were raising him in Las Vegas. I was like, how do we raise him in an environment that where he's surrounded by like-minded families and good kids, and all I heard were horror stories about the Las Vegas system of education. And come to find out there are so many incredible educators within the Clark County School District. And that's what I found through this process, is we ended up putting him in a Catholic school and then pulling back because the experience that he had in Catholic school was that he didn't fit in their box.
So in trying to put Hunter in the most ideal of learning environments, what struggles did you come across there in Las Vegas?
One of the biggest things, and our desire was for him to go to Catholic school. And we were working towards that, but he had just this unfortunate experience where he really didn't fit. And he ended up getting to, it was a year and a half. It was a lot. There's so many details, and again, from a generous place at this point, I don't want to share too many details about the story, because it got us to where we needed to be, which he ended up in full day kindergarten, and then we had him repeat kindergarten in Catholic school. He was a summer baby, and so we were on the fence of whether to put him in school starting at 4 years old or not. And so did fine, then went to Catholic school, had a rough go of it, and realized that wasn't the right environment for him, and it wasn't healthy for who he is as a human. And so I started researching every other opportunity. And at that point I was like, I will pay $1 million for my child to not feel like he's a bad person and not fitting into their box. And so I in all of that research, that mommy fire in me was like, no child should ever have to feel like they're a bad person for the way that their brain is uniquely wired and their unique needs in any learning environment ever.
Yes.
And it just started this like revelation. And it was around the same time that I got introduced to Roger Hamilton's work and found out that I'm a creator profile and that my brain is big picture, head in the clouds, great at starting things, not so great at finishing things, not really good at timing, as we know. And so there's lots of pieces that I started learning about the brain and then learning about the system of education in Las Vegas. I ended up putting him back in the same kindergarten where he had gone to full day kindergarten. That principal was amazing. He said, Sandy, Hunter's a great kid. Bring him back here. I've got the perfect teacher for him. And that teacher like just didn't react to him in a way where it fueled him. She handled it, she redirected, she had great classroom management skills. And really within 2 weeks of having him back in that environment, he was excited to go to school again.
Yeah.
It was just such a breath of fresh air. I could stop waiting in the parking lot after I dropped him off for the phone call of Hunter can't handle his stuff today. Right. And not feeling like I had support in the Catholic system, unfortunately this one, and it's not all Catholic systems, and then going back to the public system in Vegas, which everyone had said, it's not good. And, I have this gem of an elementary school of these incredible educators who are like, no, we're partners in this. And every year with an elementary school, his teacher we'd connect and we'd talk about who was the best teacher the next year, and he would get an opportunity to meet them and see the classroom ahead of time. And it's just what he needed in order to feel safe in his environment and be
those
settled.
educators got it.
Exactly.
Yes.
And it was such a shift, and so I just had this undercurrent of starting to recognize school culture. And then through working in real estate, I actually met the former and late CEO of Zappos, Tony Shea, became a dear friend of mine. And Tony had written his book called Delivering Happiness and was turning it into a company to use happiness as a business model and teach that and do corporate culture consulting as well as spreading happiness around the world, and we were doing all kinds of things. And so when he decided to do that, I said, hey, I love what you're doing. I'm happy to volunteer, like whatever you need, like I just want to be a part of this. Yeah. And next thing you know, I was hired and working alongside Jen Lim, the CEO, and I was running internal culture and internal operations, and we were building a virtual team and lots of different divisions and doing all kinds of fun stuff. And during that time, there were schools that had gotten a hold of the book, and there were schools all over the world, actually, that were getting a hold of the book. And so we were getting lots of inquiries of how they could implement the strategies in their schools.
Interesting.
And so just that connection of, I'll help them. Like, I have this mommy fire schools, absolutely. Like, it just started connecting all of the dots. And so I was volunteering my time to work with these schools and teach them what corporations were doing to shift their culture. And it just began to make sense. And so real estate, I ended up letting my license go eventually, but it became very, very part-time, if that, and then went on to start my own company. And at that time started with naming it Got Core Values, because that was the focus of what I was doing, was helping schools create their unique common language of core values. And with Tony and Jen's full blessing of support, they were like, you're passionate about it, go build it. Like that's what we teach is, find your passion and live true to it and be in that alignment of happiness and bliss and joy, and whatever lights you up, go get it. And so that family, that community, and that opportunity to be in that space with Tony and with Jen, with so many other amazing humans, it was such a blessing of a chapter of my life that was pivotal. And around the same time was getting back in contact with Roger Hamilton, learning more about what his work was doing, and learning about entrepreneurism and how to really build and grow my business, and how to incorporate the talent dynamics assessment into what I do, and really understanding every individual's natural brain-wired strength for adults. And so I started bringing that into the schools and helping them understand why classroom management might look different for different teachers, and why their lesson plans are going to look vastly different, and why you'll struggle getting lesson plans out of this certain profile versus this person's going to be on point all the time, and not everyone's the same. And beginning to open up the administrators' minds to that sometimes it's just that aha of saying it out loud of, oh, diversified instruction. I get to diversify my leadership as well. And it's not often taught. So to be able to bring a lot of the concepts from around the world that are working in organizations of all kinds into our schools to create that ripple of impact of building and growing trust and really ensuring that the workplace environment in our schools is one where educators are excited to come to work and they are that tight-knit community that have each other's backs, because that's really what I found in my work as I got into it for the kids, right, in that mommy fire, but really found that the evolution of it and the awareness is that the missing piece of what we're not focusing on in our schools is the adult mental well-being or connectedness or community or trust. And if we don't have leadership teams and staff that have a high level of trust amongst themselves, and in
How
order
are they going to support the kids?
how can they, right? And they're doing it, but it's not successful to the level that they desire.
And not sustainable. I mean,
It's
look
not.
at the teacher burnout that
Much so.
everyone is experiencing right now. You know what I admire the most? Is how you have along the way like gathered different bits of knowledge and information, and you've beautifully like connected it and created this way for these educators to see, like, look at all the interconnected pieces. And then just taking the foundation, the information that they already have, and just weaving it in so that everyone walks away going, oh, feeling more empowered in their own way, in their own flow. And it's been a beautiful thing to watch.
Thank you. It's something that I've really had to work towards even valuing in myself, because I grew up not believing that I was smart, and just being in a system that values really just a small handful of how brains are wired, right? And then there's so many that it's like, no, sit still, no, I can't. I cannot sit still. Hence the podcast with my, we're just doing this human-wise, and I think it's my passion and our shared, mission and vision in this life and greater purpose of bringing the human back to the center of education, knowing that the humanness of the fact that we're doing this podcast and we have, Ida, your dog, in the background, and Ida wants to have her voice heard as well, and it's just from this place of I can't not do this work, and that's what I wish for everyone to feel, and I feel that kindred spirit with educators is they can't not do the work. And I joke with them all the time. I'm like, if y'all weren't working here at whatever school they're in, you would go find children to help and inspire and influence somewhere, somehow.
Yes.
You just would.
Yes.
And so how can we create these environments that are psychologically safe for you? Because I know that that's what you're working to create in your classrooms every day. And a lot of them are able to do it in their classrooms, but then they're not happy in their workplace. And so then we end up with these silos and these pockets of success. And then when you look at data and test scores, it's like, well, why is this one classroom thriving and this one's not? It's like they've developed some sort of bubble and resilience within themselves to go, yep, I close that door and I don't look. Right. Whereas that's not really the way anyone wants to live, is in any kind of robotic way. Right. We want to, sense of belonging is one of our core human needs. And if we don't feel that sense of belonging within our workplace, right, where we spend the majority of our time, why are we doing it? It impacts our well-being, right? And it leads to disease, right? And it breaks my heart to see educators, A, not healthy, B, not happy, or leaving the profession to go do something because they just can't anymore. And that's not okay. We get to do better. We get to do different. And I truly believe that us partnering in the work that we're going to do together to create these comprehensive psychologically safe spaces for the adults and the children is the pathway. And I'm excited to create a movement out of it and ultimately have a playground ranch and all kinds of fun things that we're doing.
Do you think you found your life's purpose?
For sure.
How would you define that?
The what my life's purpose is or how I know?
Both.
How I know is I gut check myself often, especially on the hard days, of if I had $1 billion right now, would I still do this work? The answer is always yes. Always, even on the hard days. It makes me tear up thinking about it. And maybe I may do it different. I may leverage more people and build a team so that I can not do some of the things.
Yes.
But I just know in my bones and in my soul, like it is a full alignment of head, heart, and gut. And it's just a knowing, and it's been an evolution of a knowing. But I was asked by Roger Hamilton at one of the first events that I went to with him back in 2005, 2006, if you could do anything that wasn't about the money, what would you do? And out of my mouth, without thinking, came, I would design an adventure camp for kids. And, we bring in thought leaders from all over the world and have them teach their thing through adventure and play with kids at a camp. And so being able to have our nonprofit Genius School US and running camps for kids to ignite and foster their inner genius, and with the vision of the Playground Ranch and teaching educators how to ignite and foster their inner genius and become edupreneurs, and like all of the things are weaving together, that spark of what would you do if it weren't about the money has turned into then this is what I would do.
Yes.
And it truly is not about the money for me. And there are things that I probably am not the best to be doing right now, and there are things that need to be done that it just makes the most sense for me to do. But as we grow and evolve, I will get to that place where I get to just spend the majority of my time in my brilliance and really feel internally celebrated for that. And I think that's really in finding it and following the yes, right, is how I've gotten here. Is just saying yes, because I couldn't have planned my career path. Like it's the weirdest, windiest. You did what? When? Why? And often people that I've talked to that have also found their passion and their purpose in life, when I ask about how they got there, it is a windy, crazy path,
Yes.
and we all have taken these disjointed left-hand turns,
Yes.
and it truly is a matter of just leaning in and saying yes to opportunities that resonate with you, and. I share that with our kids now as they're in their early 20s, and it's a gift to be able to share that with their generation. And the kids that go to Genius Camp too is like, you don't have to have it all figured out.
Right.
We didn't at their age, we wanted to too.
Yeah.
And
But
had we
with-
let go of the bat then, right?
Correct. But with that, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Relax. Relax. I would, my 18-year-old self, and this is like 18, 19, do the thing that your heart wants to do. Do the thing. Because what my heart wanted to do early on in college was to go to Hawaii and study in Hawaii. And I never did. Because I was afraid of this, and I was afraid of this, and I didn't know about this, and I couldn't do that, and I couldn't.
We even went on a tour.
Right. we went and toured universities in Hawaii for me to go, and I chickened out. And I think that's what I would tell myself is, don't chicken out. If it's a thing, there's always a way. And if it keeps talking to you, like, go do it.
Yeah.
Go do the thing. And the more that I've followed that now, like, my life in the last 10 years has just accelerated tremendously because I've leaned in and said yes to things that I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for that. I don't know how I'm going to do that. I have no idea where the money's going to come from. I mean, thankfully, we have a brilliant, coach that we work with, Lisa Chastain, who's just really taught me in the last 5 years how to navigate the whole money side
Well,
of
and
things.
have a relationship with money that, although, if money were no object, we do this, but understanding that there's a value exchange
Right.
and that money does come into play.
Right. So being able to do that from a healthy place and evolve my mindset, and it's really helping to let go and trust, and to find this balance and this dance between the masculine and feminine energy that's in all of us, but specifically in me. I feel like my entire life was really gripping the bat and being in that, I have to control everything masculine side, which was healthy to cultivate, but it was too much because I wasn't also cultivating the beingness and the trusting and the allowing, which is the feminine energy side of all of us. And so the more that I come into alignment with that, as well as really articulating my own internal core values of what works for me, and recognizing when things aren't working, what is out of alignment, and how do I realign, and that it's just taken some really deep work and purposeful work to get to this place of, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, and it's very intentional, and even incorporating play into my life has been very intentional. And it started a couple of years ago with creating a play plan, and being able to go, no, what's, and diving down the rabbit hole of the science of play, and how vital that is, and going back to our childhood of why play was something that really helped us anchor in a sense of safety, and that now it's like, why didn't I keep that through line all the way throughout? I think it would have made life a little less stressful along the way.
Agreed. It's been a great conversation.
I love it. We'll bring out the Smurfs next time and play.
All right.
We'll have to do a podcast in the mountains.
But for more Smurf episodes, you'll
For
have
more
to see
Smurf
the
episodes. So now
other
you'll-
podcasts.
Yes. Exactly.
Anything else you wanted to share?
No, I'm excited to bring other guests on and really just have some honest and authentic conversations, and bring the humanness back to life of all of us, knowing that it hasn't been sunshine and rainbows, I think, for any human on this planet. And I think that that's part of it, because we get to understand the light because of the dark, and having that contrast, but knowing that we're not alone and that we're in this together really is the beauty of the work that we get to do.
Yes.
So thank you.
So keep connecting with us. We'll see you next time.
See you soon.
Thank you for listening, learning, and growing with us here on the Humanize EDU podcast as we reignite the love of learning.
Remember to give us a like and subscribe to hear more. Wishing you a beautiful day on purpose.